You're the one that you've been looking for. And I'm just here to remind you of that. I've created this channel to learn things and then to share them with you.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Keith, your bringer of knowledge, information, and entertainment. Thanks for being here. If you're new, click the subscribe button. I promise you'll like the content. Hit the bell notification next to it so that you can be kept up to date with what's going on. Now, with that said, let's get into it. I study a little thing called the Hermetic philosophy. You might know it as the majority of any spiritual endeavor you've ever stepped into from day one till now. Thoth, Emerald Tablets, Hermes Trismegistus, Tahuti, alchemy, maybe. It's the real deal. This thing believes in something along the lines of introverts. The reason why I say introverts aren't going to like this video so much is because it's going to sort of rattle up your perception of yourself. Now, introvert was never supposed to be an end-all. Introvert was never meant to be someone that was a thing, classified as that thing, and can no longer be another thing, according to alchemists. According to alchemists, you are not an introvert. You possess a tool that introverts like to associate themselves with. So, I'll give you an example. Someone would say 3 signs to tell you're an introvert. You are, meaning you equal, an introvert. So you equal these characteristics. Those characteristics being empathetic, highly intuitive, don't like crowded areas, kind of keep to yourself, enjoy your solitude. It's become cool. Let's just be fucking real for 2 seconds. It's the cool thing to be an introvert now. And I like my time alone in the nature, and I need to be alone to recharge. And if I'm around a lot of people, then my energy gets zapped. I'm an introvert. I'm a sensitive soul. I get that. I'm not saying those things are bad. What I'm saying is that when you over and over again tell yourself, reassure yourself that you equate introvert, you are pigeonholing yourself into a certain set of characteristics that have their certain balances. Again, Hermetic philosophy. I'm going to teach you guys something real quick. This isn't going to be a short video. If you want to learn some shit, go watch some fucking 2-3 minute feel-gooders and not learn anything. I'm going to teach you some shit. I'm going to teach you about the Hermetics. One section of it's called the law of polarity. In the law of polarity, everything that exists has an opposite. Heat, cold, happy, sad, courage, fear. We learned that those opposites are the same thing, but to varying degree. 50 degrees, 90 degrees. You're still measuring the same thing. Energy, the temperature. The only difference is where does that temperature exist on the scale. But you're measuring, it's the same thing. Hot and cold, same thing. Now, if you ask me, hey, are you an introvert? At one point in my spiritual journey, I would have said, yes, I'm an introvert. Crowded places make me anxious and nervous, and I need to be alone in solitude and in nature. That's the only time I can recharge. But another thing that we learn in Hermetics, all is mind. Mind is source of all. You convince your mind of something, that thing becomes real. You convince your mind that you're an introvert that comes with a certain set of bonuses, pluses. You actively manifest the opposite. Because again, you cannot have a thing without its opposite. Opposites define each other. Opposites make things real. It makes things stand out in a universe that is illusionary. Like all of existence. All dimensions, 1 through 85, however many dimensions there are, whether it includes time or not, all these things are illusions because they're all changing. Anything that's changing must be an illusion. The only thing that is real is the thing that is the underlying reality of all things, the one unchanging, immutable thing, and that's source, the undefinable thing, because again, to define it means you have to consolidate, means you have to constrict it. Just like this phone is a phone, and it can't be anything else until the phone is destroyed and made into new things, broken down. Its definition has to be broken down. So, I digress. The more you call yourself an introvert, the more you manifest the negatives of an introvert. If you say, oh, I'm a person who needs to be alone to recharge, you've manifested the opposite. Meaning, if you are not alone, you cannot recharge. So, well, I'm an introvert. I'm highly sensitive. So if you say you're highly sensitive, you bring about the opposite. It means you can't ever turn your emotions off, because the opposite of being highly sensitive is being susceptible to the emotions. And if we are susceptible to our emotions, we are like an elephant running around the jungle with no mind, just destroying everything, because your emotions are crazy powerful. But if you're all emotion, right, and no logic, no thought, if you're not balanced, you're useless, taking one step forward, one step back. And this is what we find with introverts. Introverts don't feel good in crowded places. Introverts can't recharge unless they're alone. Introverts tend to be dominated by their emotions. Overly excited, because they're so sensitive. Overly excited, overly sad, overly happy, overly everything. And because there is a balance to all things, because there is a compensation to all things, again, as we learn in the Hermetic philosophy, anytime the pendulum swings to the left, it roughly swings the same direction to the right. This is the law of rhythm, which goes hand in hand with polarity. I'm giving you guys a breakdown of the Hermetic philosophy of actual occult knowledge, not feel-good spiritual information, but straight up nitty-gritty nuts and bolts of occultism, of esotericism. You guys are shooting yourselves in the foot. Being an introvert was never supposed to be about you are that thing. You have tools, you guys, as you progress through the spiritual journey, which is just a journey of awareness. I don't even like using the term spiritual anymore, because again, it comes with a 1 through 15 list of this is what it means to be a spiritual person, which means you can't be anything outside of that, otherwise you're not spiritual. Well, fuck that. Spirituality isn't about definitions. Spirituality is about understanding that everything comes from spirit. And spirit is infinite. Therefore, we are infinity. We are an illusion, yes, but just because we're an illusion doesn't mean it's not meaningful. Doesn't mean it's not real to us. Yeah, this is all an illusion. But the way people in the spiritual world use the word illusion is almost like it doesn't mean anything. They talk about the ego the same way, like, oh, the ego is just an illusion. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of the ego. You have to get rid of the ego. Like, no, you don't want to get fucking rid of the ego. You want to understand the ego. Right? The ego is no different than my camera lens. If I were to switch out this camera lens for my portrait, the picture would look different because I've changed the lens in which you look through something. Therefore, I've changed how the thing looks. That's it. That's all the ego does. If you attach yourself to the ego and you say, I am the ego, that's where shit starts to get weird. Just like the introvert thing. There's nothing wrong with the qualities of the introvert, but when you attach yourself to the qualities of an introvert, which means you're calling yourself an introvert, when you say, I am an introvert, you're saying I equal an introvert, which means all the things that make up an introvert, the good and the bad, equals me. And you've now limited yourself to that thing. So I know how cool it feels to be an introvert, and I know how cool it feels to think that you're a highly intuitive, highly sensitive person that can only get more energy by sitting under a waterfall with crystals in your hand 10 miles from the nearest human. I know that sounds cool and looks nice in blog posts and shit, but it's incredibly limiting. I used to be that person. I used to be the person that called myself an introvert. I can't be around crowded places because they make me anxious because I just take on too many people's energy and I can't handle it. I need to be alone in the jungle with Baloo. It sounds fucking cool. And we want to fit in, right? No matter what we do, even if we don't feel like we fit in with the external world, so we seclude into our spiritual world, again, just so we can fit in. I get it. But that didn't fix my problems. I wasn't happy being anxious in crowded areas. I wasn't happy calling myself the type of person that was anxious and crowded. Like, fuck that. I want to be able to go in and out of any circumstance, any situation. I don't care if I'm shaking hands with the President of the United States of America. I don't care if I'm shaking hands with Gary Vee. I don't care if I'm talking to a homeless person on the bus. I don't care if I'm alone with a bunch of hippies in the woods or with a bunch of business execs at a networking event with thousands of people. I don't care where the fuck I am. I want to be able to go in and out of any scenario with confidence, with ease, like a goddamn chameleon, because that's what an alchemist is. An alchemist is someone that transmutes first and foremost by using the mind. You use the mind to transmute anything, and you cannot transmute something. You cannot change one thing into another if you believe that the one thing is the end all. And when you call yourself an introvert, you're giving yourself an end all, which means you can no longer transmute yourself into anything else. You can no longer transmute your thoughts, which means you can't transmute your actions. And then you watch videos and read blog posts, and you make your own posts on how much of an introvert you are and how much you relate to these tendencies of the introvert. And look, I get it. Being around a lot of people can be taxing, but being around a lot of people can also be invigorating. It goes both directions. Being alone in the woods can be very recharging, and it can also be very lonely. Right? No one's different, but the smart person subscribes to the mind is all, and the mind is, I want to use the word infinite, but even infinity is a definition, and therefore is limiting, right? That's why in Hermeticism we say the all, and the all isn't the name for God. It's not a name. The source of it, the all, is unnameable. It's undefinable. And to say that it is infinite is to say that it's subject to time, because infinity represents time everlasting. But the all is not subject to time. Time is subject to the all. So even to say that it's infinite is still shot. You get what I'm saying? That's where we come from. That thing that I can't even speak because it hurts my brain to try to get you to understand what I mean by not having a meaning. That's where we're at. That you're not an introvert. You're not an extrovert. Right? You're not a... I wouldn't go as far to say as people who call themselves, say, a shaman, or who call themselves anything. Anything. This is why I found Game of Thrones so intriguing when they talked about the nameless and the faceless, because he would always refer Jagar or something like that. He would always refer to himself as this. He would say, "A man has no desires. A man wants to leave. A man wants to get food. Well, what's your name? I don't have a name." And what was he able to do? He was able to wear any face he wanted, because he had no face of his own. He was the nameless. He was the faceless. And as a result of being nameless and faceless, he had access to all the names, to all the faces. And that's what I'm trying to hammer into you guys when it comes to being an introvert. Stop buying into the introvert jargon. Stop buying into the introvert feel-good clickbait titles. It makes you feel good about being an introvert. Oh, I'm just like, me, that's me, I'm an introvert. I get it, I understand, but it's not useful. It's not useful to someone who wants to be extroverted sometimes. It's not fair to a person who doesn't want to be neither introverted nor extroverted, but rank themselves on a completely different scale, right? It's not useful to the alchemist. To you, I would assume. So, hopefully that video helps you guys. My name is Keith, your man of letters, bringing you knowledge, information, and some entertainment. I'm happy to help you guys out. And if you made it to the end, you might as well subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. I have an Etsy shop where I sell all kinds of cool shit. Ooh. I'll make another post about this, but my dream spagyrics, which is debatably the most potent elixir for having lucid dreams on the planet. Slightly biased, I know. Buy 2, get 1 for free on my Etsy shop. Because we cool like that. But leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think about your journey as an introvert, or your journey as an extrovert, or as your journey bouncing back between the two things. So, thanks you guys. I'll see you in the next video.